Welcome to today's show. Today, we're diving into a story so absurd you'll laugh, yet so tragic you'll want to cry. A nation once crowned the world dairy capital, endowed with some of South America's most fertile plains, now finds itself importing milk and even struggling to feed its own people. This nation is Argentina. What broke the wings of the Pampas eagle? The Argentine people inhabit the Pampas Plains, the vastest and most fertile grasslands in South America. The word Pampas originates from an indigenous term meaning treeless plain. This expansive, rich land abounds with corn, wheat, peanuts, soybeans, and sunflowers. The crops produced here could theoretically feed a population 10 times the size of Argentina's. The Pampas grasslands were also once a global epicenter for beef and milk production, earning Argentina its famous nickname. Yet, the former world dairy capital has transformed into a milk importer and now even faces challenges in achieving grain self-sufficiency. Why? The roots of this tragedy lie in a meticulously crafted commercial expansion strategy backed by state power. It's an unfortunate reality that many of the world's calamities, when traced to their source, often lead back to the strategic interests of certain nations. In 1996, genetically modified GM, soybean seeds from the U.S. company Monsanto, now part of Bayer, received authorization from the Argentine government. While framed as formal approval, the reality was that of immense political and economic pressure within what the U.S. often treats as its backyard, leaving Argentina with little meaningful choice. Initially, the Americans provided the GM soybean seeds to Argentine farmers for free, encouraging cultivation and waiving patent fees. The U.S. GM soybeans offered higher yields and approximately 30% greater oil extraction efficiency. The resulting soybean meal was perfect for animal feed, ideal for the dairy industry. Free seeds and higher yields presented an seemingly irresistible economic opportunity. Argentine farmers rapidly switched to planting U.S. GM soy, abandoning traditional crops like corn and wheat. But free offerings often conceal the highest costs. These genetically modified seeds were designed for single use. Their progeny were sterile and could not be saved for replanting. This created biological lock-in. Argentina became dependent on purchasing new seeds from the U.S. company every single year. In 1971, the area dedicated to U.S. soybeans in Argentina was a mere 37,000 hectares. After the 1996 introduction of GM soy, cultivation exploded. By 2001, the area soared to 9.8 million hectares, a nearly 300-fold increase, swallowing almost 40% of Argentina's arable land. The 2001 Argentine economic crisis created a desperate need for foreign currency to import essential goods and inputs, particularly fertilizers and pesticides, without which even soy couldn't be grown effectively. Argentina lacked domestic production capacity for these critical inputs. Soybeans, occupying 40% of cropland, became the default lifeline. Argentina further expanded soy cultivation, exporting massively to earn foreign exchange. The more soy Argentina exported, the deeper its dependency grew on the high-yielding, ostensibly free U.S. GM seeds. Historical precedent suggests caution in taking such promises at face value in international power plays, but Argentina had already become hooked. In 2005, once Argentine dependency was absolute, the U.S. company abruptly changed tactics, demanding patent payments on all exported seeds and soybeans. Argentina refused, citing broken promises. The U.S. response was multi-pronged. It pressured key importers of Argentine soy, like the EU, to pay the technology fees and restricted the supply of new seeds to Argentina itself. Under U.S. pressure, the EU reduced imports of Argentine soy. This delivered a crippling double blow. Soy export revenues plummeted, strangling foreign currency earnings, while access to the new seeds needed for the next planting season was jeopardized. With other crop production deliberately scaled back over years, rapid adjustment was impossible, threatening national food security. Cornered by domestic and international pressure, Argentina eventually capitulated and agreed to pay the patent fees. From 1996 onward, as soy cultivation continued its relentless expansion, reaching over 18 million hectares by 2020, claiming 70% of arable land, production of other grains plummeted, and dairy herd numbers sharply declined. The former world dairy capital became a net milk importer. More critically, Argentina's domestic seed and agrochemical industries, unable to compete with U.S. dumping, collapsed. The entire soybean sector was effectively monopolized by U.S. companies. As wheat and corn cultivation dwindled, staple food prices skyrocketed, forcing Argentina to import basic grains. The nation's food security was now held hostage. It must be noted that the success of this external strategy was facilitated by internal Argentine factors: the government's own pursuit of export dollars to manage debt, crises, and its promotion of monoculture agriculture based on short-sighted, comparative advantage calculations inadvertently sacrificed agricultural diversity and strategic autonomy. The Argentine story is not unique. Using food as a tool of influence and control is a recurring tactic. After the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the U.S. imposed a comprehensive embargo, including on grain. From 1965 to 1967, President Johnson restricted grain exports to India to punish its opposition to the Vietnam War. In 1970, the U.S. immediately halted food aid to Chile after the election of Marxist Salvador Allende. Following the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1980 to 1981, the U.S. enacted a grain embargo against the USSR. A CIA report once bluntly stated that food deficits in the Third World gave the U.S. a form of power unprecedented in history, suggesting Washington held life-and-death power over vast populations. How does the U.S. wield this food weapon? First, through dominant production. It grows 1/5 of the world's grain, is the top agricultural exporter, shipping over 150 million tons annually, commanding 37% of global soybean exports, 47% of corn, and 22% of wheat. In 2019, U.S. grain output reached 500 million tons. Compare this to China's 660 million tons, produced for a population 4 times larger. The U.S. has 2.8 billion acres of arable land, world's largest, mostly flat plains ideal for large-scale mechanization. Second, through control of trade. The ABCD giants of global grain trading, ADM, Bunge, Cargill, U.S., Louis Dreyfus, France/U.S. influenced, once controlled over 80% of the market and still hold dominant positions. If a nation needs food, it often must go through them. Of over 200 countries globally, only about 32 are largely self-sufficient in food. Just 6 are consistent net food exporters: the US, Australia, China, Brazil, Argentina, and New Zealand, with the US being the only true comprehensive surplus producer. Today, nearly 1 billion people face hunger, and a child dies from hunger-related causes every 6 seconds. From Argentina to India, Chile to the USSR, we see not isolated incidents, but a recurring playbook. Step 1. Capture markets and destroy local competition with favorable terms, free/low-cost tech/seed. Step 2. Lock in control through legal and political mechanisms, patents, trade rules. Step 3. Exercise pricing power and sanctioning. Authority once dependency is cemented, achieving strategic, geopolitical, and economic ends. Argentina's tragedy serves as a stark warning. Food sovereignty is fundamental to national survival and independence. Food is not merely a commodity, it is a strategic weapon. Entrusting food security to others is tantamount to surrendering national sovereignty. China's policy of preserving 1.8 billion mu of farmland redline and placing food security at the heart of national strategy appears profoundly wise and farsighted in this light. Argentina's story teaches us that in this silent war over food, maintaining agricultural autonomy, seed sovereignty, and crop diversity is not just an economic issue, it is a profound political matter determining national destiny. Safeguarding the Chinese people's rice bowl must forever rely on ourselves. Any nation that values its sovereignty and the welfare of its people must maintain sufficient autonomous capacity in critical sectors related to livelihood, especially for a strategic good like food, where state involvement and oversight are crucial to resist erosion by international capital and geopolitics. China's practice has proven this to be the correct path for safeguarding national security and people's well-being.